Wow, just wow. Look at it move in real time. This is the H2C. Is this the printer we've all been waiting for, and is it better than the H2D? My name is Mick, and you'll find out on the 3D Printing Zone. The Bambu Lab H2C has 2 nozzles on the print head. On the Vortek system, or the rack, there's 5 more nozzles. The left nozzle moves up and down. In the up position, it hides out of the way for the right nozzle to print. In the down position, it's lower than the right nozzle ready to print. There's an indicator bar at the top that shows which nozzle is active. On the right nozzle, there's a locking mechanism that holds the nozzle in place while printing. When it changes nozzles, it pulls this locking mechanism or lever, allowing the nozzle to come out. There's a magnet on the back of the nozzle which holds it to the print head, and there's a magnet on the front which holds it to the Vortek system or the rack. Nozzle settings and all communication between the nozzle and the H2C happen wirelessly at the top with 0 contact. The nozzle heats up in 8 seconds using induction heating at the neck. That's super fast. The Vortek system moves with the motor position at the bottom. So how does the H2C unlock the nozzle and switch heads? Let's walk through each step and see it in real time. The first step is to cut the filament like this. Then raise one side of the rack, which raises a pin in the back. That pin will interlock with the lever and hold it in place while the print head moves to the left to unlock the nozzle. Then the H2C will find an open slot and release that nozzle. Then grab the next nozzle. The last step is to push that lock back in place to secure the nozzle for printing. This feels like a bunch of steps, but watch how fast it moves. Insane, right? It moves so fast that by the time the AMS can pull the current filament out, the nozzle has already changed, which means there's no added time between the filament changes and the nozzle changing. In fact, by the time the new filament has been pushed through, the nozzle is heated, ready to go. When it comes to printing multiple materials or multiple colors, having 2 nozzles is better than 1 in most cases. We made a video about that here. Now, when we compare 2 nozzles to 6 or 7, is that even better? Bambu Lab has been on fire this year, releasing 4 printers. The H2D, the H2S, the P2S, and now the H2C. If you're looking to buy a 3D printer and you've landed on the Bambu Lab H series printers, pat yourself on the back. I've been 3D printing since 2017 and have owned over 35 different printers. The Bambu Lab H series printers are by far the best 3D printers I've ever used. The H2C is the most unique with 7 nozzles. That's more than the Prusa XL and the Snapmaker U1. But in comparison to those printers, is it limited by the AMS not having individual tubes with each nozzle? And how's the quality? Does it compare to the H2D and actually save time and money? Before we answer these questions, Bambu Lab sent us the H2C printer for the purpose of making a video. They don't review these videos and they don't require that we say certain things or don't say certain things. This will be 100% my opinion without any restrictions, which is good because there are issues. In fact, there's one that I just don't get. Since we don't get paid for this video besides compensation for the printer, if you're looking to buy one, we'd love for you to use our links down below or this QR code. Those links don't increase the price at all, but they help us continue making videos like this. We just covered how the H2C works at a high level. Let's calibrate the printer, test some prints, and compare the quality to the H2D along with the time and the material savings having 5 additional nozzles. At the end, we'll give our recommendation. We recently compared the P2S to the P1S and the X1 Carbon. We looked at the noise, the monitoring, the speed, and the quality. From what I can tell, the H2C and the H2D are the same exact printer with exception to the Vortek, portions of the print head, and something else that just doesn't make sense to me. We'll talk about that when we get to the issues I've had with the H2C. Since these printers are practically identical, the noise, monitoring, and movement speed will be very similar, so I won't focus on those. The The main focus will be on the time and material saved and the quality. Before starting the first print, we need to calibrate the printer. Bambu Lab makes this so easy. Similar to their other models, the H2C calibrates noise, vibrations, and bed leveling. The H2D and H2C have a fourth calibration with the nozzle offset. In addition to those calibrations, the H2C has the induction hot end rack setup. To be honest, I was intimidated by multiple nozzles. It sounded confusing, but it was so easy to set up. Once it's calibrated, you add the nozzles and it reads them automatically. Gone are the days of manually choosing and selecting your nozzle types every time you switch out the nozzle, which is a good thing because I would hate to do this 7 times. If you've seen our videos before, you know we always start with a benchy. We're switching things up today by printing this multicolored fidget toy Bambu Lab included with the H2C. If the color in the AMS is different than the color in the nozzle, it needs to push out that color before it can start the print. This is the only purging that happens throughout the whole print for each new color. Let's watch the yellow print and see how fast it changes nozzles. That's really fast. And like I said, it takes longer for the AMS to switch out colors than it does for the nozzles to switch. That print looks amazing, but it's not perfect. I can see a tiny bit of sagging with the blue filament. I believe that's because of the filament, not the printer. The other colors turned out great. Let's see how this part compares to the wasted material. The part weighs 17 grams, where the Purge weighs 3 grams with the tower at 29 grams. That's almost double the weight of the tower. How does that compare to the H2D with 2 nozzles or even the H2S with 1? Well, this file came on the H2C, but let me print something I have on hand with the H2D, the H2C, and the H2S. We'll compare the quality along with the waste and print time. This is where things get interesting and you might think twice about buying the H2C. Let's print this snowman head with 4 colors. The quality on these heads look amazing. The H2C is on the left, the H2D in the middle, and the H2S on the right. The time and material saved is shocking, but not in a good way. The H2D took 12 hours and 51 minutes to print 18 heads. The H2C took 12 hours and 13 minutes. The amount of filament used on the H2D was 160 grams and 141 grams on the H2C. If you compare this to the H2S, which took 13 hours and 27 minutes with 178 grams, you're still not saving much time. However, besides this middle portion of the head, there's no color changing, just when it gets to the nose, eyes, and hat. That being said, the H2C has 11 grams of waste compared to the H2D at 32 grams. That's basically triple. And the H2S has 50 grams of waste, which is almost 5 times the amount of waste as the H2C. And visually, you can definitely see the difference. Here's the H2C Purge material and tower, the H2D with its waste, and the H2S. See the difference? This is just the head of a complete fidget toy we're thinking of selling in our farm. Speaking of which, let's look at a real-world example of something we print in our farm every day for the bath bomb company called Sweet Bath Co. In the spirit of K-pop demon hunters, we partnered with the Sweet Bath Co. to create these Huntrix noodle cups. They add their amazing bath bomb material and kids absolutely love them. We print these in PETG and they work great, but they're just plain teal and white. The Sweet Bath Co. created this sticker, but it falls off the cup, so they just have it on the lid. I took that design and added it to the cup, but on the H2D, 8 of these cups take 38 hours to print. That's 32 hours longer than the plain version. They also use 689 grams of filament versus 239 grams. That means production will slow down by 500% and the cost per cup material will increase by 300%. We would have to raise the price of these bath bombs significantly just to break even. However, if we use the H2C, the material and time and savings is huge. It will take 22 hours versus 38, and use 309 grams of filament versus 689. One reason these cups waste so much material is because there's no infill where the nozzle can purge filament before changing. You can see that as we look at each layer. Let's look at one more example that will help you decide if the H2C is worth the investment. Here's the Majora's Mask in 8 colors. On the H2D, it takes 54 hours to print and uses 1,000 grams of filament. And I scaled this down to 75%. If you sold this for $60 and it cost you $30 to print, looking at the cost of filament, maintenance, electricity used, and all that other stuff, you're still making 100% profit, which isn't bad. If you ran the H2D for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you could produce 162 masks, which would be $4,860 in profit. That's $400 a month. If you bought the H2D for $2,200, you'd pay it off in 6 months. That's not a bad investment. On the H2C, the mask takes 33 hours to print and uses 400 grams of filament. That makes the cost $15 between filament and everything else, which takes your profit to $45 per mask. Using the same math as before, you could produce 265 masks a year, which would be $11,925. That's more than double the profit of the H2D because you're using less material and printing a lot more in a year. I don't know the price of the H2C, but even if it came out to $3,000, you'd be paying it off in just over 3 months, making $993 per month, which is crazy and amazing at the same time. I bought all the colors of filament to print off the mask and the Huntrix noodle cup, but I can't print them yet. Bambu Lab sent us 5 nozzles at 0.4 millimeters. That's 2 on the head and 3 in this box. They also included a 0.6 millimeter and a 0.2 millimeter nozzle. I only have 5 of the 7 nozzles needed. If those nozzles get here before we release this video, you'll see the mask and cup at the end. If not, we'll put them in our next H2C video coming out shortly. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. You might be asking, why not use the 0.6 and the 0.2 nozzle? You can't use different sized nozzles on this printer yet. I confirmed with Bambu Lab, and that's an update they're currently working on, which is exciting because something else we print for the Sweet Bath Co. are these cute fidget derpy keychains. Again, K-pop Demon Hunter related. Kids love them and they look so good. But if we could have a 0.2 millimeter nozzle on the first couple of layers, then increase that to 0.4 or 0.6, it would have better detail on the layers that matter and print so much faster. By the way, if you want to buy any of these bath bombs for kids or for yourself, use the code 3DPZ at checkout for a discount. When the H2D was released, people complained about the size of the bed versus the actual print volume. I made a whole video of how you could take advantage of the full width of the bed on the H2D. You can check it out here. Let's see how much we can actually print with one nozzle on the H2C. I'll print a flat sheet as large as it can go, then compare the quality and the size to a flat sheet on the H2D. The H2D bed came out okay. It was printing too close on the front right corner and it wasn't sticking on the far right corner. Let's check out the H2C print. This one looks better until you pull it off the bed. Look at that layer separation. This is printed as a single layer at 0.2 millimeters, which is a difficult print, but I expected more from this printer. Let me try making 2 adjustments. First, I'll wash both beds to see if that helps with adhesion. My thought here is I've touched the build plate a lot with both printers, and I'm sure the oils from my fingers are affecting the quality. When washing a plate, make sure you dry it with a clean towel or a paper towel. Just something that hasn't come in contact with your hands or any oils already. Now that the beds are clean, let's throw them back on and change one last thing. What is happening right now? I assumed these beds were the same exact size, but I was wrong. You have got to be kidding me. The X and P series printers have the same bed size. The H2D and the H2S have the same bed size. Why for make beds smaller? We will talk more about this, but first let's finish the single layer print test. To help speed up prep time, Bambu Lab has an auto mode with calibrating their printers. I will override that mode in the advanced options and make sure every calibration runs fully. On the H2D, that came out looking better in some areas, but this front corner still has issues. I've put over 1,800 hours on this printer. Maybe it's time to do a recalibration or change out the bed. Maybe I need to look at the nozzle. The H2C looks much better, with exception to this left side a little bit. This time it didn't have any layer separation at all, which you can see here. As far as print size, with one nozzle, these beds are practically the same, give or take a couple millimeters, with the H2C being a tiny bit bigger. Now let's talk more about the build plate size, another issue that I've had, and give my recommendation. When I put the H2D plate on the H2C bed and found out it was too big, my heart stopped. Why would they do this? Why? I'm pretty sure it's because they needed to make space for the Vortek, but why not make all three printer beds the same size in the first place? That's what we expect as customers. They did it with the P series, they did it with the X series. You might be thinking, why didn't you just look at the measurements before assuming they were the same size? Well, I've learned to kind of ignore those numbers because they aren't completely accurate. The H2D bed is actually 355 millimeters wide and can print about 325 millimeters wide with one nozzle. With two nozzles, it goes even smaller to 300 millimeters. The H2S bed is the same size as the H2D, but only prints 340 millimeters. When I saw 330 millimeters on the H2C, I assumed it was the same bed size, but couldn't print the whole bed like the other two printers. I had every intention to upgrade the H2D and the H2S with the Vortek system. But if that means I have to switch out the build plate assembly and not be able to use the multiple build plates I purchased for the other printers, I might not make the change. Maybe the Vortek for the H2S and the H2D will be thinner and will fit without changing the build plate. That's my hope. The last thing I wanted to mention is printing multicolor and soft TPU. This is a specific use case, but one I run into quite often. What if I want to print something with multiple colors in softer TPU like 75A or 85A? The AMS doesn't work with softer filaments, so the most colors I could use would be two. The Prusa XL and the Snapmaker U1 both have dedicated tubes for each nozzle, which means it's possible to add softer TPU to each head and have a multicolored TPU product. Again, this is specific, but if you're looking to print like this and you want to have multiple soft filament colors, you might look elsewhere. This printer wouldn't cut it. We just talked about the H2C and how it compares to the H2D on quality, material savings, and time savings. Before I give my overall thoughts and recommendations, we're pushing for our next subscribe goal, and we literally can't get there without your help. I've also dropped a link down below for the H2C, H2D, and H2S. If you're looking to buy a new printer, think about what you are or will be printing and ask yourself these questions. Does it require multiple colors or multiple materials? Does it need a larger build plate? How many colors or materials are needed? Are the changes happening throughout the print or just on a few layers? If you are or will be printing items that require multiple colors or multiple materials, I would highly suggest putting those printed files into a slicer like Bambu Studio, slicing them, and looking at the amount of material and time that you will save. We've owned the H2D since April and we absolutely love it. It's been our favorite printer and we use two of them every day in our print farm. Adding the H2C cuts down on costs and decreases print time. My recommendation between the H2D and the H2C is it depends. They're matched in quality, ease of use, and noise. If you have the H2D, you should be able to upgrade to the H2C with the Vortek rack. In fact, if you have the H2S, that should have a kit coming as well. We'll have to see if it's really worth it if you have to change out the bed or not. Most of my needs are met with the H2D. However, I hope to upgrade all of our H series printers as soon as the upgrade kit is available because we do save time and money with the H2C. It is now the best printer that we own. If the H series printers are too big and you're looking for something that's still great quality, still quiet, still fast, take a look at this video.